Hey everybody, Keith Dotson here with a sort of a random little photography related video with an unusual twist at the end, so stick around to the end if you want to hear something really strange about this story. What you're looking at here is a vintage cabinet photograph that I found recently in an antique store here in Middle Tennessee where I live, just outside of Nashville. And I was there actually looking for something else and spotted this on the shelf and admired it for a second, thought it was a really nice portrait, and I snapped a picture of it with my cell phone and went on about my business. And when I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about this photograph. And so I was looking at it on my cell phone and saw the photographer's name, Lochman, in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and decided to look this guy up and see if there was anything about him on the internet. And as it turns out, there's quite a bit about him on the internet. If you really look, you can find out a lot about his life story, but also his photographs are all over the place. They're on eBay, on Flickr, on Pinterest, and lots of places. So there's lots of examples of his work out there. But he was born in Hamburg, Pennsylvania in 1825. He was of German heritage. His parents' lineages were on both sides of the Revolutionary War. So one line was a Hessian soldier, and on the other side they fought for the Continental Army, and they made peace somewhere down the line presumably at a marriage where his parents got together. Benjamin Lochman is his photographer's name. He had a photography business in Allentown, Pennsylvania for over 50 years, if you can believe it or not, from the 1850s into sometime maybe around 1905 or 1910. He had a reputation and was even called the oldest photographer in Allentown at one point. So his older brother was also a photographer and was actually much more well-known and highly regarded in their lifetimes because he took some well-known photographs of the Civil War wreckage at Chambersburg. And his younger brother, William, was also a photographer. So Benjamin took this photograph at 707 Hamilton Street in Allentown, but he had lots of business locations I was able to find. This location he was at, I think, from about 1885 until the 1900s. So I can somewhat date this photograph of this young woman who happens to be pregnant. You can kind of tell in the photograph. She's wearing a Victorian dress. I can date her probably sometime after 1885. It's an albumen print, which is in very beautiful condition, in my opinion. And an albumen print, in case you don't know, they used egg whites to make an emulsion and put the light-sensitive material inside the emulsion and used egg whites to kind of hold that on and create the surface. It was exposed on a glass negative and printed from a glass negative, which was, of course, no easy task in those days. Something that he was obviously very accomplished at. It's a beautiful print. Here's the strange part about this story, if you'll bear with me for just a second. As I told you earlier, I randomly happened to spot this in Tennessee at a antique store and didn't know anything about the guy. Did my research online and found out that in the 1865 census, he was married to a woman who was listed as Kate, but her name was Catherine Troxell. Last name spelled Troxell. And of course, they were from Pennsylvania. And here's the weird part is that my mother's maiden name is Troxell, Troxell, and her lineage comes from Pennsylvania. So this photographer that I found an image of his work that's probably 135 to 140 years old, from a distant state, was married to what is probably a relative of my family. Kind of mind-boggling. Anyways, thanks for indulging me on this. I know it's a little bit weird, but I appreciate you paying attention. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to visit my website, keithdotson.com.